guys, to our trading session, market overview on the 15th of August 2021. I am Pumpeye and I'm joined by none other than Mr. Bilo, the former bear. Good afternoon, Bilo. How are you doing?
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing fine on this beautiful Sunday. Happy that you could join us for this live market overview that we have been bringing to you once a week. Today's overview is going to be short and sweet. We're going to look at a few things, and then we're going to answer some questions if you have any. For those that are joining us for the first time, we always start with the history of what's been going on. We've had a grand cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which culminated in Bitcoin's all-time high at approximately $64,850, depending on the exchange you're looking at. This was a very clear bearish signal here, where we had an ending wave diagonal on wave 5, followed by an ABC correction, which bounced off of the 1.618 extension area. We have since then, and this is middle of May, been in this channel, which many have likened to the Wyckoff accumulation channel that we see here. It's actually followed it almost to the T. Depending on the time frame you're looking at, we had this low volume sell-off right here on the 21st of June, and then we had the test on the 20th of July. And we've just gone upwards since then, similar to what we see in the Wyckoff theory accumulation, which I'm trying to bring back on the screen right now. Sorry, I was muted. So yeah, just was drawing attention to how this channel looks very similar to the Wyckoff accumulation channel, which as we can see here, we had the low volume sell-off in June, and then we had the test in July, and we've just been going up since. So if we do the comparison, this is the low volume sell-off, this is the test in July, and we've been going up since. So something that's interesting is what we've been saying all along is that there are 3 steps to get over prior to continuing up on, hopefully with the bull run. And those 3 were going over the 200 EMA on the 4-hour, going over 200 EMA on the daily, and finally going over the peak of the previous grand cycle wave 3, which was at approximately 42K, which we've all done successfully. The last hurdle from an EMA or an MA perspective was this 200 SMA, and we're currently just hovering above it and testing it. So this is an important support. We are seeing some weakness at the moment because there are, and I'll start to show you the indicators. We're starting to see weakness because there are bearish divergences forming on the daily. So as we're making higher highs, the oscillators are making lower highs. We also have some sell signals on market cipher B. And the increase in price followed by the decrease in volume is also a bearish indicator. Now, guys, this doesn't mean we're going to dump. This doesn't mean we're going back down. It just means that this is a place where we could see a correction. Something else from the VPVR, which is, as we've explained earlier, the VPVR is just a tool that shows us what happens at different price points. So as an example, at 34,217, there was a lot of buying and selling, and this is why we see a peak on this bar. So in this region here, between, let's call it 40,000 and 46,000, as you can see, there has not been a lot of buying and selling. So this cave in the VPVR helped us to predict that if we get above this point, this resistance here at 42K, that we should easily be going up to the next resistance, which is 46K. We've mentioned this a few times in previous live market analysis videos. And that's indeed what happened. We'll see a similar thing happen here in this pocket here. Once we get, say, about 50, we'll easily make it to 52, 53. So that's how these work, because there is no interest resistance. When you're below these lines, it's resistance. When you're above it, it's support. So there's not much resistance above those lines. But now we're reaching a point where, as we see here, the resistances are starting to accumulate. We have bearish divergences. And there are several other points that we can show you. For example, if we take a Fibonacci extension, Fibonacci retracement, excuse me, from the all-time high down to the low, we are currently at 0.5 retracement, which is a significant resistance level. And if we take it from wave B down, you'll see that we're at 0.618, which is another very important retracement level. So we definitely are at a point of resistance. I don't think that this is a point where we'll continue to go up. I think we'll have some retrace, possibly test this 42K level before we continue on up. I would like to see the 42K level tested for several reasons. It's the top of the Wyckoff accumulation channel. It's top of wave 3, and it was a previous important resistance to get over prior to continuation. So I would like to see this level tested. And as you see, the EMAs are all kind of joining together at this point, heading up to around those levels. So this region here has to get tested before we go back up, in my opinion. If it doesn't mean it has to, but if it does get tested and the price resumes, it just adds that much more comfort to those that are looking to enter the market. They'll feel better about their investment and their choice to go long. We mentioned a few weeks ago, and I think last week as well, that for the first time in a very long time, we did see, and this was a couple of weeks ago already, but that we did see on the weekly this buy signal here. This is on the 26th of July. We mentioned it during the live call that we saw a buy signal on the weekly come up on market cipher B. And that the last time we saw that was in April of 2020. And obviously we had a huge bull run after that. So seeing this here is very encouraging. We have had only the last 4 weeks have been green. We still have 9 hours and 40 minutes for this week to close, but it closes anywhere in this region, and it's extremely bullish. But like I said, going back down to 42 is, I think it would make the direction of the market and the level of comfort for those looking to go long or buy spot or whatever, I think would make them more apt to do so. So this was an important buy signal, guys. We mentioned it here a few times, and we encourage you to always join us on these calls, because we very often call things live as we're looking at the chart, something that's difficult to do in a text or on Telegram, because on Telegram, we're not necessarily doing a live analysis where things come up as we go. We're just doing a snapshot of what's happening at the time. And in the live calls, there's ideas that are exchanged between the different hosts, and we come up with sort of a consensus on what we feel is going to happen. So I think it's useful, and you guys would benefit a great deal if you were to join us. And we always encourage you to ask questions, share with us your thoughts, share with us even your charts. We're happy to hear, happy to see, and discuss. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was if we just go back to the daily, and I'll just go to a cleaner chart because this one has too many things on it. Few interesting things that I'm just going to clean it up a little bit, guys. Few interesting things in terms of projections. So this is that channel we were talking about. I'll go back to a daily chart. Here we go. So there's two schools of thought on what's going to happen here. And just forget about all these lines. These are moving averages and exponential moving averages. If this was the lowest point in the accumulation, then we can say this is wave 0 to 1, and this is wave 1 to 2, and now we're in wave 3. I don't particularly like this being 0 to 1 because I don't see a clear path of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Maybe if we go into a 4-hour chart and we try to find one, maybe we will, but it just doesn't look right to me. So either way, we'll get to the same conclusion. Let's say this was 0, 1, 2, and we're doing wave 3 right now. Well, in either case, we would also have to find a Elliott wave pattern for what we're seeing from here to here. And the very obvious one, whether this is wave 3 or the beginning of a new wave, is that this is a 1, 2. This is very obvious looking at the chart. So if we were to start drawing an Elliott wave pattern from here, saying this is 1, 2, and now we want to predict 3, 4, 5, right? The ideal target zone for a wave 3 is 1.618 of wave 1, 2. So if we draw a Fibonacci extension from wave 0 to 1 and then back to, that didn't work, from wave 0 it's not working. Okay, I really don't know why it's not working, guys. Just bear with me. I'm just gonna move this to where it's supposed to be. Here we go. So the ideal target for wave 3 is somewhere here. And wave 4 can go as low as wave 1. We just do not want to see wave 4 go lower than wave 1 because then it invalidates. So wave 4, guys, don't worry about wave 4. What I really want is to show you the next target. The next target is around 5960K for wave 3. This is a clear 1, 2. And here we're going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And generally speaking, after we reach wave 3, it does not have to hit 1.618. Okay, it could stop here, it could stop here. I'm just saying the theoretical, the academic target is 1.618. What's important to know is after we hit this, the retracement for wave 4 is going to drag. This I can tell you, it's going to drag. It's not going to be short. So this one here, the retracement for wave 1 to 2, if we see how long it took 3 days. So I can tell you, based on Elliott wave, that the wave 4 target is going to be a long protracted out target. It's not going to dump quickly. It's not going to, end and continue up. It's going to take time. It's going to take maybe, let's call it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 15. Could just for sure it's going to be long. Why is that? It's because in Elliott wave theory, if wave 2 is a doesn't take a long time, wave 4 will take a long time to end. And vice versa. If wave 2 took a long time to form and end, then wave 4 will be quick and short. So based on this, my expectations are that during this period, we're going to have a nice alt market because we're not going to see wave 3 to 4 happening in a short period of time. That means we're not going to see a quick dump. We're just going to see a slow decrease in the price of Bitcoin. It doesn't have to be a big decrease, could be a small decrease, but it's going to be protracted out, meaning that the Bitcoin will be stable for a couple of weeks, let's call it, okay? Based on what I see here and based on what I've seen in the past. This is going to be great because that's when we're going to see the pumps of the alts. Alts normally pump when Bitcoin is stable. So look for some stability after wave 3 is reached. And based on this, we'll see very clearly that wave 3 is reached because we'll start to see a retracement back down and a very, very slow one at that. And we'll be able to call wave 3. But let's just look at wave 3 as we're predicting it in the context of everything that we see here. This is a very high resistance zone, obviously. So maybe wave 3 won't make it to 1.618. Maybe it'll make it somewhere here, which is about 57K. That would make more sense to me. Now, if we start digging deeper, oops, what did I do? What did I do? If we start digging deeper, hold on guys, I'll just put this back. If we start digging deeper and say, okay, forget, ideal cases, let's look at the chart that we have. To me, this here is the area where there's the most resistance. And this is where I would say wave 3 should end, somewhere around 56K. So let's say that when 56K comes, this is a very important resistance for Bitcoin. Around that time, guys, I wouldn't be longing. I would be kind of, stepping back, waiting. And I wouldn't necessarily be selling either, because like I said, wave 4, based on Elliott wave theory, is going to be long, protracted wave. It's not going to happen quickly. It's not going to be a quick dump. It's going to be a very slow moving wave to the downside, but it shouldn't be a steep downside. Like here, we went from 41, 42 down to 35 pretty quickly. I'm just telling you, based on Elliott wave theory, we will not go down, let's say 3,000-4,000. It should only be like a few thousand that we would go down, and it would be over a protracted period of time. It's going to take time. So this area here, in my opinion, is where we will see alts have a nice, strong movement to the upside. So that's my prediction. Of course, no guarantees, not financial advice. These are just my thoughts on what's going to happen. On the FA side of things, we mentioned it a few weeks ago. We mentioned it again. We've had a lot of very bullish news come out from JP Morgan trading in Bitcoin, adding Bitcoin to their funds. The China situation is behind us. It actually resulted in a better crypto world, because now we have significantly less centralized or a significantly more decentralized crypto world when it comes to Bitcoin mining. Tesla, Elon, back end, which is also very good. PayPal, huge news. The news along with the charts just made it for a perfect confluence for us to be where we are today. This move up, from 28 to 40 back to 36 and up to 48. That's a phenomenally strong move. So we cannot discount the fundamental news that we heard during that period that helped bring the price of Bitcoin to where it is today. Germany, one of the most regulated countries in the world, also accepting Bitcoin funds. Interestingly enough, there was a fear that there will be a decrease in crypto miners for Ethereum ever since EP 1559, which results in the miners making less money on their mining. But interestingly enough, we're seeing those numbers start to go back up again, which is a good news. So this is just a quick market overview, what we're seeing in Bitcoin. We could look at other charts, of course, but Bitcoin, as we are always saying, if you want to see the market and where it's heading, look at Bitcoin, and then you can decide what to do with the rest. So not that there's no point looking at other charts. The time to look at other charts is possibly here, where I think Bitcoin is going to be more stable, and we're going to see an alt market. That's the time to start looking at other charts. In the meantime, if you're in projects that are fundamentally strong, even if you see them dip, guys, it's not the time to sell. If you held on to your coins throughout this fall from 64K down to 28, it's certainly not the time to get rid of your coins now. If you're in bad projects that are not going anywhere, projects that were hyped at the time, because there were at the time meaningless projects that people were lining up to buy just because everything you threw money at was going up. If you're in some of those projects, maybe it's time to consider flipping over to something that has a more sustainable future, growth, backers behind it, good charts, good fundamental analysis, good news, good use case. For sure, you might get lucky with a meme coin here or there. There's a lot of people that made millions, but it's pure luck. And I'm not saying that everything in crypto doesn't have a certain degree of luck, because it does. But at least the projects that we call fundamentally strong are projects you can actually follow, understand, see what the use case is, and see how it can add value to this world. And therefore, if you believe in crypto and you believe in that the movement behind crypto is decentralization and advancement and Web3 and all that, then you have reasons why you're investing in something rather than hoping that the coin you buy is going to be the next moon coin. I mean, that's just like buying the lottery. Again, it's your choice. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and you can certainly get lucky. I know many people that have, but if you do want to look at having a more educated approach to your trading, it's always good to look at your portfolio and maybe shuffle around the coins that don't have much of a use case and fundamentals and put them into something that does. That's about it for me. I don't know if Pumpeye, you had anything you wanted to add or any questions or any other charts you wanted us to look at?
Well, I don't know, maybe we could take a look at Solana. Solana appears to be doing pretty well. I know we had a look at it last week, but it's at the top there. It's gone up quite considerably.
So Solana's, I mean, anybody that follows Crypto Society, you guys know that Solana is one of our favorite projects. We've been talking about it for a long time, and we follow it. We had an AMA recently with the CEO and co-founder of Solana. It was an awesome AMA. So Solana, we've looked at it several times, and I think, when was this? This was in July. We kind of said that we see an inverse head and shoulders happening here, and it would go up from there, which we have. Excuse me. Which we have. And we're currently, I haven't looked at this in a while, but we're still in this channel that we drew sometime in July.
That's a very nice channel.
It is really.
If we stay in that channel, I'll be quite happy. My very moderate investment in Solana will do well.
Look, it's a nice channel. Look, we're getting close to the all-time high, which was at 58. We're at 47. So if we draw a Fibonacci retracement, let's call it from 5 to C, just to see where we're at. And we had this discussion last time, how Solana has outperformed in terms of retracement almost all the coins. So yeah, look at this. We're heading into 0.786. We're already above 0.705. So the biggest resistance, which would have been here, has been overcome. So yeah, Solana is really looking good. And again, so many fundamentals around Solana. There's a lot of news, a lot of hype, a lot of projects building on Solana. It is, after all, the fastest blockchain by far out there. And there's not much more I could say about Solana. One of my favorite projects.
We've had a request on YouTube for Luna.
Luna.
Look at Luna.
Sure.
It's really popular at the moment, isn't it?
I never held Luna ever.
I was going to trade it once, and I lazily hadn't charted it myself. I'd looked at a call from someone else, and bought into it, thinking, yeah, actually the chart looks like the call that they'd made, and it was completely wrong, and it went the opposite way.
It actually looks right now really good. First of all, it also has had here. We're also in like the same region retracement wise as Solana. I see a potential cup and handle here.
Yep.
So
an upside down Bart.
If we were to just draw it out here, we kind of do, what is this? Oh, I know what's happening. We'll fix it. Hold on. So we see this, and then we should see maybe something like this, and then we go up to the upside. Why do we see that there's going to be a retracement going on also, guys, is because on the daily, we have a higher high, but on the oscillator, we have a lower high. So there is bearish divergence. This is a place where we should start going down. If this bearish divergence continues, and we also have a sell signal here. I just noticed on market cipher B.
Indeed, we do.
So if I was trading Luna leverage, I would probably put in a short. If I was holding Luna, I wouldn't touch it. If I was holding it in spot, I would not touch it, because this descent could go from maybe 17, could go to about 13, could bounce really anywhere. Okay, I would just hold it.
It could drop $1.
That's right. If you held it from here to here, this is not the time to take a chance, in my opinion. Okay, I'm just playing it safe. I personally, my trading strategy, I wouldn't be trying to play around. I would definitely not be playing around with this, because this looks like a very nice chart, and this retracement is due, because retracements are important for us to continue on up. So I would want to see a little retracement here. It doesn't have to be a big one, and an upside movement from here. And it's not just the cup and handle, it's also an inverse head and shoulders, which is right here. Same target, it doesn't really matter, but there's a lot going for it, guys.
Very nice.
And then once we get above 22, it's price discovery. So there's no resistance. It's purely price discovery. Resistance is purely at that point, whatever people think it should be. And once they start to fear that it will drop again before taking profits. So yeah, very nice chart from for Luna.
Okay,
anything
what about
else?
Ethereum? This is my own
Ethereum.
personal ask. Ethereum has absolutely rocketed recently, hasn't it?
Yeah. So Ethereum, I mean,
That looks
it's
like
like
we're about the 618 from the drop. Does it not? From the all-time high down to the bottom?
I'll check it out. But Ethereum looks like the delayed version of Bitcoin. So much like Bitcoin, but Bitcoin already did this, came back up. Ethereum is like a step behind in the sense of what the chart looks like, but it just really does look very well. And yes, Pumpy, it's exactly at 1618. That's a good catch. So this is again a place where we would expect to see some resistance, and there too, there is the same bearish divergence that we see a bit everywhere. It's right here. So we see it there. The bearish divergence is there. So you know, the retracement here, I mean, we're not, again, when we say there's bearish divergence, it just means that there's a good chance of a change in direction. This change in direction, nobody can measure. Nobody's telling you there's bearish divergence. That means we're going to drop, let's say, $1,000. All we're saying when we say bearish divergence is that buying pressure is decreasing if we're on an up, and it's slowing down to a point where we might see a change in direction temporarily. That's all that means. When we start to draw targets, it's because there's more than just bearish divergence. It's because we see, let's say there's an Elliott wave count, or we see that there's an ending wave diagonal, we see there's a bearish wedge, we see there's a head and shoulders. It's don't confuse bearish divergence with, oh boy, we're dropping all the way down. Just means it'll slow down and could drop a little bit. We'll see how much. It's not going to drop to the point where it's like, oh shit, let's get out of Ethereum. It's not the case at all.
KSM, we've got a request from SWAT. That was that last request for Luna, by the way, was from Matthias.
KSM? All right.
If we could look at KSM. You love a bit of KSM, yes. Don't you?
I love KSM. So here's KSM. KSM has not performed as good as other coins have. I'm very surprised at that. I honestly am surprised. I thought that with the parachain auctions, KSM would rocket. It did, but then it was obvious that what was happening was that people were buying KSM because they knew that others would buy it so that they can stake them for the parachain auctions. But then as soon as the auction started, they just dumped them. And that's what happened with KSM. I have zero worry that KSM will exceed its all-time high and be in the thousands very soon. I really think it's one of those projects that will always be on everybody's mind and in the top, let's say 20 on coin market cap. It's a phenomenal project. You know, people think of KSM as a test net. It is a test net, but it's a net of its own. There are projects that are built exclusively and will stay exclusively on Kusama. So it's not just to test before they migrate to Polkadot. There's projects that will just stay on Kusama. There are several projects. So it's a very unique project. And the purpose behind Kusama was initially to make sure that Polkadot would operate nicely when when the main net came on, and that people could go and test their projects on Kusama. But it was also in parallel encouraged that some projects use Kusama as their main net to build on, and not just for testing. So it's not just a test net. Important to remember that. So looking at Kusama, looking at the daily, we've obviously hit, this is the 200 simple moving average resistance. We're above all the exponential moving average resistances, but we are hitting the simple moving average resistance. So I would say right now that the target for Kusama for us to get over is the simple moving average at 200 SMA. And the value of that today is approximately $305. So it would be good to get over this 200 SMA on the daily. And for those that are not familiar, the only difference between simple moving average and exponential moving average is that simple moving average is simply the average of the last, in the case of 200, the last 200 daily candle. It's a simple mathematical average, versus exponential moving average puts a lot more weight on the most recent candles than on the entire candle history over 200 days. That's the only difference. And it's not magic, guys. It's not like something magical happens at these numbers. It's just that if enough people think that 200 SMA is a good enough place to take profit because it'll be resistance, well, it'll start to mean something. Similar to an EMA, similar to a head and shoulders, similar to anything else, any trading technique out there, if there's enough people following that line of thought, that philosophy, it'll start to mean something. That's all it is.
Interestingly, the place that we bounced on the Bitcoin daily chart was the 200 simple moving average.
On Bitcoin daily, right now we're above the simple moving average. Here, I'll just go back. We're above it. It's actually support right now. So we'll see where that goes. Holding that support.
Yeah. Bilo, on the market cipher A, it's showing a bearish continuation diamond at the top, and there's also a short signal on the momentum waves at the bottom on the market cipher B.
Well,
because it could be that it's because of this move down that we've had and then bounced at support.
No, I think that, like we were saying earlier, this is a place where we would need to see a retracement, because we also see here the bearish divergence, similar to what we're seeing on other charts. So you see it here. We'll let me just clean that up a bit. But from wave one to here, we have a higher high, but on the oscillator, we're making lower highs.
Yeah.
So this divergence indicates that this is a place where we should start to see, and look at the volume, it's dropping. So this is a place where we should see a retracement. Again, we're not talking about huge retracements, but remember, markets move in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave structures. And each wave, let's say wave 2 to 3, also has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in it. And wave 1 and wave, subwave 2 also has a 1, 2, 3. So markets don't move straight up. It's always in this zigzag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's several formations, which it gets quite complicated in Elliott wave. And I'm not there. I'm not an expert in Elliott wave. But that's how it works. That's how it is. So having a retracement is not a bad thing. Having a retracement allows for more liquidity to be pumped into the market, because people generally don't like to buy. At least smart money doesn't buy on green. Smart money always buys on red. Therefore, if you want more money and more push for a particular coin or asset, you need that retracement.
I've just noticed, what was it I noticed?
Yeah.
I've just noticed ADA.
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked at the price of ADA?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So ADA has been pumping a lot because its mainnet is coming very, very soon. I think it's in September.
That's been long awaited, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is
So, I
actually
mean,
the point where everybody can look at Ada and say it's no longer just a white paper. It's really here.
no, definitely. And I mean, you know, guys, Ada is one of those projects like Dot, like Kusama, like Solana. It's like a project that if you buy it, you know that eventually, long term, doesn't have to be tomorrow. I mean, here, yes, we had a nice, very quick, from the 18th of July, we've doubled, but it's one of those projects that'll be around for a long time. It's very, very strong project, very fundamentally strong. You know the difference between Ethereum and ADA?
Go on.
Ethereum kind of said, we're gonna go out, we're gonna make mistakes, we're gonna launch, we're gonna allow for smart contracts to launch on our platform, other projects, and you know what? We'll clean up the mistakes as they happen. ADA, on the other hand, are a bit of they're a little like perfectionist in their mind. They wanted to perfect their blockchain. They wanted to perfect their ecosystem, rule out that any errors, any kinks in the system before they launch it, and that's why it's taken so long.
Do you know what?
So the
and
fact
I really like that, and I appreciate that that way of doing things. I think that's a much better way of doing things in some ways, because they haven't had all the rug pulls and all the hacks and everything else that's gone with launching without a perfect product. And I'm not saying that Ada is necessarily going to be a perfect product, because that's pretty hard to attain, but
it won't.
They've stopped people from losing quite a lot of money by doing it this way around.
For sure, but also on the flip side, like I just talked about the positive of ADA. On the flip side, it's already a top 5 coin, I think. I think it's in the 5th place on CMC, 5th or 6th, I'm not sure. So in terms of market cap, it's already huge. So you got to be careful with ADA in terms of how far can it go. Because when you start looking at a coin, you always want to see, okay, in terms of an investment. Now, ADA, the principle behind ADA is for developing countries. It has a very noble reason behind it. But in terms of if you want to be selfish and think about how much money you can make, and that's mostly why we're all in this, is trying to make money. Well, if you look at the market cap of ADA, and we could do this another time, but you could do this yourselves quite easily, guys. It's coin market cap or CoinGecko. Look at the market cap of ADA, divide by the total number of circulating supply, and that'll give you the price of ADA. Or the vice versa, take the price of ADA, multiply it by the total number of circulating supply, and you'll see the market cap. I mean, that's how market cap is calculated. And compare it to, let's say, Ethereum, and say, okay, if ADA was ever to catch up with Ethereum, well, that's not going to happen overnight. But let's say if it were to catch up with Ethereum at today's market cap, what would the price of ADA be? And the point I'm getting to is ADA is not a coin you'll see at, hundreds and thousands of dollars. I mean, I think there's a maximum ADA can reach. We're not going to go into trillions of market cap for ADA. So it's important to keep in mind that you can target $5, $6, $7, I think, reasonably over the course of the next year or maybe 2. But don't be thinking in your minds this is $100 coin. It's not. Not at the market cap it's at.
And there's a couple of things for ADA that are in there. The mainnet is there. It's the smart contracts that are launching in September. The reason there's no rug pulls and stuff like that is there is no projects on there that can use smart contracts, so that you can't rug pull. So they actually couldn't build anything on ADA to get rug pulled. Yeah. So we'll see if anything comes once the smart contracts there, but because of their sheer amount of testing, very, very unlikely, but never say never. And I agree with you totally. It might peak at a blow off top at up to $10, but it will never be a max high value single token coin.
No, it's not going to be one of those coins that you 100x. Okay. I mean, unless you bought ADA when it was a cent. I know someone that bought a lot and they let them go. But you won't.
Stop it.
That's naughty. That's really naughty.
I was trying not to mention that. I've got a clean slate.
So who might that be?
I can't say. I was sworn to secrecy.
Oh, brilliant.
So yeah, look, think of it as like a blue chip stock. Okay, good to have in your portfolio. It'll definitely add some stability. It's not going to dump. It's not going to pump. It's just going to grow slowly. Think of it that way.
And joking aside, just for everybody on my painful experience, what it shows is patience is key. Okay, I ran out of patience, and I didn't lose, but I stopped myself from making an obscene amount of money. So patience, 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 and study.
Especially on projects that have valid, legitimate use cases, guys. You know, we're not talking about be patient with Shiba Inu, Munu, whatever the frick they're called. Just, you know, we're talking about projects that have significant use cases, that have a real ecosystem, that have real devs, that have a lot of support. You know, these projects are not going anywhere. So anyway, that's
eConsole and KSM and DOT.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And guys, like KSM, DOT, I mean, DOT, look at DOT, it's $20. Okay? It's $20. We are cautiously optimistic, but are saying we should be resuming a bull run. When everybody was saying Bitcoin's going to 15 and 20, you guys heard it from us here over and over again that we feel Bitcoin will hit an all-time high again this year. Not trying to, you know, say, look at us, look at crypto society, but we're just trying to transmit to you our own beliefs. We believe that this is going to continue. We believe that we still have many opportunities in front of us right now to buy these coins at a fraction of what they're going to be worth in the not so long future. That's the message of this.
And the other thing as well is for this is if you're buying any of these Solana, ETH, DOT, KSM, and you are intending on keeping them for a while, stake them. Get more for nothing.
So, DJ, that's actually a very interesting segue here. Where can we stake Solana?
I don't think you can yet. They're on about bringing staking in very, very shortly.
There is somewhere, but I've completely forgotten where it is. There actually is.
I think last time during the AMA with Anatoly, he said that it was coming soon, but I did see on Radium that there are Solana Radium pools or Solana USDT pools. In essence, and you'll get, I think, 80% APY on them. But it's a pool. It's not staking. It's farming.
Yeah, it's liquidity, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So you can end up with less Solana. That's the problem.
That wouldn't be too good. That's not a great way of staking.
Yeah. But
no, that's mistaking.
Hmm?
That's mistaking.
Mistaking.
Indeed. Nice. Just quickly, guys, if you haven't already, give us a like on YouTube. Give the stream a share. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Our Medium page has an incredible amount of AMA recaps on it, with lots of great projects, including Solana and who else have we done? PCX. We did labs. We've had. I mean, Bilo, you've hosted a lot of them. Reel off some of the great projects that we've done AMAs with.
We've done with so many. I mean, we've done Ocean Protocol, Energy Web. We've done Kilt. We've done we've done PCX. We've done Bancor, Secret Network. Recently, Solana. We've done Star Atlas. We're having another one today that is extremely high tech, next generation stuff called Umi. I strongly suggest you be there. It's in 2 hours, actually.
I was just about to say it's only in a few hours, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in a couple of hours. We have another follow-up AMA with Star Atlas on Monday where there's going to be a lot of announcements made. We have Bird Protocol. Fast becoming also another favorite of ours, coming up on Thursday. We have another AMA with Bancor the week after. A lot going on. And just to Pumpeye's point, the more support we receive on YouTube, the more we will be putting into it, and the more resources and education and interaction we'll be investing into YouTube. So your support and likes are appreciated and needed, to be honest. So please do so and follow us on all our different media platforms.
And just to say, obviously, the last one there was DAG as well. I really like that.
Yeah,
That was
that's
very
right. Sorry,
interesting.
DAG. Yeah, we had DAG yesterday. That's right. Yeah.
And just to come full circle back to the beginning, what you were saying about BTC, I put it in the chat. I don't think you guys just picked it up, but what would be interesting is to see what the BTC dominance is at the moment. If you have a chart on that,
Sure. Yeah, right here. So it's dropping, and I really hate charting BTC dominance, but it just somehow works. So here we go. I mean, we had like this small rising wedge, and yeah, it's dropping, and I would say. Let me just get rid of all this 1 second.
and just for everybody that's watching, so what's the importance of this? Where we were looking at things like Solana, which is going up, while BTC is either going in flatlining or it's dropping down, and that's where the BTC dominance changes because Solana's taking more money, BTC is losing money, the dominance of BTC is dropping.
Sure, and the way that, and if people are not aware, the way that BTC dominance is calculated is it's really simple. It's the market cap of Bitcoin divided by the market cap of the entire crypto market. So if the market cap of Bitcoin relative to the entire crypto market goes up, BTC dominance goes up. If it goes down, BTC dominance goes down. The only reason why BTC dominance would go down is if more money is being invested in alts than are being invested in Bitcoin, relatively speaking. That's why it goes down. Not so above 50%, most of the money is invested in Bitcoin. Below 50%, most of the money is invested in the collective crypto market with Bitcoin excluded. That's all it is, guys. It's not more complicated than that.
Nice. I've just noticed, actually. Do you want to have a look at CHR?
CHR.
As that seems to be on quite a pump. Let's see where that might be going, or whether we think it might be on a retracement soon. Wow, that's some daily candle.
Yeah. And just kind of like I trade a lot with divergences. And you could see here, like, we made a significantly higher high, but there's no volume. The RSI is just not making it up above the previous peak. So we're already starting to see a setback. And if I was to put in the volume bars, you would probably see it there too. No, you don't. Volume is actually quite decent. Mind you, there's still 9 hours for this candle to close, so it's too early to judge based on daily. So if we move on to 4 hours, let's see. What do we see? Why? Now, 4 hours looks better. 4 hours looks better because daily, guys, when we always talk about let's see how the candle closes, what that means is, like in this case, there's 9 hours to go for this candle, so it's too soon to judge. This could very easily change and go back higher, erasing the divergence because there's still 9 hours to go. So looking at a shorter time frame, we get a clearer picture. But this is not a coin. I mean, I don't know if there was news today or something on CHR. It's not a coin that I follow.
I'm not sure. But Bilo, if you change your where you've got your watch list set to Bilo's list, if you change it to mine, not my portfolio, but the other one, then I just want to point out that you said about the Bitcoin dominance dropping. Well, if you look at that list, that's showing that regardless of the fact that Bitcoin's actually dropped, is it a couple of thousand in the last 2 days, which is quite unusual for a weekend, isn't it?
Has it?
Yeah, it looks like it. It's dropped from 48.4 to 59.12 we're currently on.
Oh yeah, we're 45 now. Yes, okay.
Yeah. And regardless of what Bitcoin's doing, actually there are quite a few altcoins that are pumping and that are doing really well. So I mean, you can see from that list that there's a fair amount of altcoins that are doing very well regardless of what Bitcoin's doing, which is unusual, especially on the weekend. Usually we
Yeah,
see small, low volume pumps on the weekend, and then a return to normality with a thump on Mondays.
let me just see if I can find that. There was something that I used to look at that gave us an indicator for alt season.
There
Forgot.
was at the top, I think, altcoin season index.
Oh yeah, that's it. So according to this, we're in altcoin month.
But it's
Altcoin
definitely Bitcoin season, it's saying.
Bitcoin season, altcoin season, we have to be above here. This is not the one I used to look at. I can't remember which one.
This is not good enough. Simply won't do.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Someone's actually asking on YouTube, do we have to keep it? Well, actually, they began by saying we've got 4 green candles in the weekly chart. Do we expect a retracement on the weekly level? In the past, there's rarely been more than 5 green candles in the weekly chart. And then they go on to ask, do we have to keep an eye on the USDT dominance and how effectively it can be used from a trading perspective?
So USDT or US dollar index?
The USDT dominance.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the ticker is for that, to be honest.
So I don't know.
Oh, and I would never use that ever. But that's just my personal.
USDT is like, it's like a free cash printing machine. So it very, very easily manipulate a lot with
Right.
USDT, and that's
Please, could I have access to that, Bilo? The free cash
in my
printing machine.
basement anytime you want to pass by.
Going.
You can, but the ink cartridges cost a bloody fortune.
Oh, apparently the ticker is USDT dominance.
I don't know. I don't know what use that would be, to be honest with you.
Nor do I actually, because theoretically,
Because look, whoever's asking, whoever's asking, it's because the reason I'm saying this is because think about it, and it's been a while that there's allegations that Bitcoin was being pumped through the minting of USDT, and this was almost like an exit strategy for some that were bending the rules when it came to USDT, and it's just being printed without any real backing. So I wouldn't use it as an indicator other than that once we see USDT printed, it's reasonable to assume that Bitcoin is going to be purchased, right? It's reasonable to assume that, but just don't forget, and people always look at, whales movements. Whale moved USDT into an exchange, that's bullish. Bitcoin into an exchange is bearish. Although that is, I guess, it makes sense and it's for the most part true. You also need USDT to short, okay? So don't take it for granted that when you see USDT moving onto an exchange that Bitcoin is going to go up. Because I could transfer USDT onto an exchange for the sole purpose of shorting the market. So I don't know.
The other thing is, sorry, Bilo, on that one. The other thing as well is the amount of USDT being printed is actually becoming percentage-wise less because USDC is getting more printed because people trust that more for whatever reason. But also the Terra UST is now starting to get more as well. So it's not just about USDT. USDC is now starting to get more.
You know why USDC is trusted, the DJ? USDC is trusted because they have monthly reports showing that they are completely 100% backed by the US dollar versus USDT that hasn't been doing that so far. And they've started doing it right now, and it's still under scrutiny because it's still not clear if they're properly backed dollar to dollar.
Can I correct you and say they are 100% backed by Coinbase? Which is one of the reasons why.
Yeah, that's probably because even
USDC is Circle. They're called Circle, and their reports are above grade when it comes to showing that they are truly backed. versus USDT, even though they passed and they paid a fine to the SEC not long ago, they made a settlement. It's still very unclear in the crypto space if they truly are backed dollar to dollar. And they've started now releasing reports, but it's still very iffy. At least what I've been reading is the reports are very iffy. They're not clear.
Yeah, they're attestations and not actually true reports on that. But the other thing as well is USDC isn't backed dollar to dollar, just to clear that up.
Yeah.
It's backed with short-term debt certificates and things like that as well, which can be converted very quickly into cash. So for everybody that's listening, watching, whatever, it's not that $1 is $1. USDC, USDT, any of the stable coins are not matched 100% dollar to dollar, dollar to token. There is different forms of how they do that, and convertible bonds, assets, everything else. And it depends on how quickly they can convert those bonds, that how much risk you're actually taking by holding that particular coin.
Yeah. To answer the previous question about does 4 weekly candles mean that the fifth one is going to be red? I don't know. I don't see why. I mean, I'm looking right here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green weekly candles. So, I mean, I don't know. For sure, part of trading is looking for patterns, and this could have been a pattern. There's nothing wrong with this way of looking at things. A lot of times we'll try to see things that happen over and over again and try to predict based on the past. But in this particular case, I don't see why 4 is a number to pay attention to, because like I said, I just looked quickly and I saw 5 or 6 here. So for sure, nothing goes straight up. So the more green candles you see on a weekly basis, the more you start to say, okay, when are we seeing we should be seeing a retracement soon. So from that point of view, yes, you want to get cautious once you start to see too much green.
By the looks of it, we've also hit a peak just above the top of that red candle during the drop before we started retracing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that could be considered a bit of a fake out for now.
Yeah. Yeah. So unless there's anything else, guys, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys. Maybe not next week. We'll let you know, but definitely the week after.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. That's really good, guys. And pray for Tottenham in a couple of minutes when we start. I know it's not crypto, but it's part of my life. Have a good afternoon, you guys, and everyone that's listening.
As long as you make sure to join us for the Yumi AMA in a little while. Don't miss it, Dave.
I promise to do that if you pray for Tottenham.
Everyone pray for Tottenham.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks all. Bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
weekend. Bye-bye.